There's an R2-D2 dome panel coming off my print bed right now. One more piece of the astromech droid I've been building for months. Hours of printing, layer by layer, and it just finished. And according to a growing stack of headlines, lawsuits, and brand new laws, the machine that made it is a problem, not the droid, the machine. So today we're going to talk about the two words that have followed 3D printing around like a shadow for a decade now: ghost guns. What they actually are, what the numbers actually say, where the law actually stands, because it's a genuine mess right now, and the real question underneath all of it: what happens to the rest of us? Hey guys, welcome to Oliver's 3D Creations, the podcast. Now, I want to be straight with you right at the top because this is a touchy subject and you deserve to know where I'm coming from. This is not a how-to. I'm not going to tell you how to make anything. I'm not linking anything. I'm not walking through any files. That's not what this is. And for the record, and I mean this, I do not own a firearm. I don't make them. I don't make the parts. I don't make the materials that go into them. And I never will. This channel never will. I'm a maker. I print droid parts and cosplay and props, and I just want this hobby understood, not put on trial. That's the whole reason I'm making this. What this is a maker trying to make honest sense of a mess. Because I love this hobby, you love this hobby. We print droid parts and cosplay helmets and drawer organizers and little articulated dragons and replacement knobs for the dishwasher. And lately, every time this technology shows up in the news, it's attached to a crime. And a lot of us are sitting here going, wait, is that us? Are they talking about us? So I did the homework, I read the court cases, the data, the state laws, and what I found is more complicated and honestly more interesting than either side wants it to be. The scary version is too scary. The nothing to see here version is too clean. The truth is in the uncomfortable middle, and that's exactly where I want to spend the next 15 minutes with you. Let's get into it. Definitions first, because this term gets thrown around like everybody agrees on what it means, and they don't. A ghost gun just means a firearm with no serial number, so law enforcement can't trace it, no paper trail. That's the whole idea behind the name. It's a gun that, on paper, doesn't exist. Now here's the part that gets lost. There is more than one way to end up with an untraceable gun, and they are not the same thing. The first way, and this is the big one, is a kit. You order a mostly finished metal frame, sometimes called an 80% frame, and it arrives in the mail. There's one brand name that comes up over and over in the reporting, Polymer 80, and for years, these kits shipped without a serial number and without a background check, because legally, the unfinished part wasn't technically a firearm yet. Assemble it at your kitchen table, and you've got a working gun that traces back to nobody. No 3D printer anywhere in that story. The second way is the one with our name on it: 3D printing. Printing frames or receivers at home in plastic, and I need you to hold on to that split because the entire reputation problem, the thing this whole episode is really about, lives right in the gap between those two. The thing that's driven most of the alarm and the thing that we actually do have been getting treated as one single monster. They're not. So let's talk about why everybody's alarmed, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you the concern is imaginary. It isn't. The numbers are real and they're steep. According to ATF data compiled by researchers, the number of these untraceable guns recovered at crime scenes went from about 1,758 in 2016 to 25,785 by 2022. Let that land. That's roughly 1,000% plus increase in 6 years. One report called it the fastest growing gun safety problem in the country, and honestly, looking at a curve like that, I get why. If you're a cop, a mayor, a parent, a jump like that is going to scare you, and it should get attention. But, and here's the first crack in the scary story, what were those guns? When you look at the breakdown, the majority of those recoveries were kit built, the mail order metal frames, not printed. 3D printed frames are in there, and I'll be honest with you, they're a rising share. That part's true, and pretending otherwise would make me exactly the kind of unreliable narrator I don't want to be. Printed guns exist, they show up in crime data, and the trend line for them is going up, not down. But rising share of the total and the main driver of 1,000% spike are two very different claims, and when a politician holds up that giant scary number and then points at a 3D printer, those two things don't actually connect the way the gesture wants you to think they do. Now here's where it gets genuinely wild, and this is the part most people have no idea about. The law on this right now is contradicting itself in real time. Let me walk you through it because it's kind of incredible. Back in 2022, the ATF wrote a rule that basically said those kits, the 80% frames, we're going to treat them like actual firearms, which means serial numbers, which means background checks. The whole point was to close the mail order loophole. Gun rights groups sued, and it went all the way up. And in March of 2025, the Supreme Court upheld that rule, 7-2. Justice Gorsuch wrote the majority. The kits are firearms, the regulation stands, big deal, seemingly settled, except Gorsuch left a door open. He specifically wrote that future cases may present other and more difficult questions, and oh boy did they show up. Because in 2026, a federal judge in Texas, Reed O'Connor, struck down that same rule as it applies to 3D printed parts. His reasoning is fascinating. He leaned on the Fifth Amendment, said the rule was too vague, and then he made a historical argument. He pointed out that in the 16, 17, and 1800s, there were basically no restrictions on building your own gun for personal use. Americans have been gunsmithing at home as a trade and as a hobby since before there was an America. So his logic goes, you can't just decide it's illegal now, so follow the bouncing ball here. The Supreme Court says the kit rule is good. A Texas judge says the same rule applied to printing is bad. That'll get appealed, probably to the Fifth Circuit, maybe back up to the Supreme Court. Nobody actually knows the answer yet. As I'm recording this, it is legally unsettled, and that's just the federal layer. Underneath it, the states are doing their own thing, and it's a total patchwork. At least 15 states plus DC already have ghost gun laws on the books. California, New York, New Jersey, Washington, a bunch of others. Some of them specifically named 3D printed firearms, and more are piling on. Michigan passed a ban, Maine passed one, Philadelphia passed a city ordinance that's now headed to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, Virginia's governor vetoed one. It is a genuine, it depends what state you're standing in situation. And I want to zoom in on the two states leading this charge, because this is where you're seeing other creators fired up too, California and New York. California went after the information itself. The state attorney general filed a landmark lawsuit going after the websites that host printable gun files, not the guns, the files. And California's been out front arguing that states have to be allowed to regulate 3D printed firearms, Supreme Court or not. But New York is the one every maker should actually be watching, because New York went furthest of anybody. After a spike in printed guns showing up in New York City, the governor rolled out what they're literally calling a first-in-the-nation plan, and here's the kicker: New York has floated sweeping regulations that reach the 3D printers themselves and printed components, not just finished guns. Read that again. Not the crime, not even the gun, the machine. That is the exact line I was worried about a minute ago, and in New York, somebody's already drawing it. So if you've been confused about whether this stuff is legal, congratulations. You've correctly understood the situation. The people whose job it is to know are actively arguing about it. Alright, now we get to the part that actually keeps me up at night a little. Not as a gun guy, I'm talking as a maker. Watch what happens to the hobby while all this plays out. In 2025, Thingiverse, one of the biggest libraries of free 3D models on the planet, the place 1 million beginners get their first cute little print, moved to ban firearm designs off the platform. Now, you can argue that's a reasonable call for a company that doesn't want the liability, but you can also see the direction of the wind. The pressure isn't just landing on criminals, it's landing on platforms, on files, on the shared, open, here's a cool thing I made, download it for free culture that is the actual heart and soul of this hobby. And the fear, and this isn't just paranoid gun forum stuff, this is a worry showing up well outside that world, is that the next step is regulating the printers themselves. The tool, the machine on my bench that has made, I don't know, 1,000 harmless things. Think about how strange that would be. Nobody's out here trying to register your kitchen knives, and a knife has hurt a lot more people than my printer ever will. Nobody licenses your pickup truck extra because a truck could be used to do harm. We generally regulate the crime and the criminal, not the 10 million people using the same everyday tool to live their lives. But 3D printing is new, and new is scary, and scary is easy to legislate. And so the honest anxiety a lot of us carry is, are we about to get treated like a loophole to be closed instead of a technology to be understood? Is the cosplayer, the prop maker, the guy printing prosthetic hands for kids, the print farm running 24/7 making toys, are we going to get lumped in with the worst 2% because it makes a cleaner headline? That's the reputation problem. That's the ghost in our machine, not the guns, the suspicion. So where does that leave a reasonable person? Because I promised you the uncomfortable middle, and I'm not going to chicken out of it now. Here's what I actually believe, and you can disagree. That's what the comments are for. Two things are true at the same time. One, the misuse is real. Untraceable guns are showing up at crime scenes. Printed ones are part of that and growing, and pretending our hobby has zero connection to it would be a lie. I'm not going to insult you with that. Two, the technology is overwhelmingly a force for good, and the people in this community are overwhelmingly here to build, fix, create, and share. Punishing all of that, regulating the tool and the 10 million good faith users to get at a small number of bad actors who, let's be honest, will always find a workaround. That's not safety. That's just theater that happens to crush a hobby. The line I keep coming back to is simple. Go after the crime, not the tool. Prosecute the person who builds an untraceable gun to hurt somebody hard. Leave the person printing a Millennium Falcon alone. Those should not be the same conversation, and every time we let them become the same conversation, the technology and all of us lose a little ground for no real gain in safety. You don't have to land exactly where I land. But I'd rather we sit in that tension honestly than pick a comfortable team and stop thinking. So what do we actually do with all this? A few real things. Know your state. I'm serious. We just saw this is a patchwork, and it changes. What's totally fine in one place is a crime one state line over. If you're in this hobby, it is genuinely worth an afternoon knowing where your state stands. Be a good ambassador. Honestly, this might be the biggest one, and it's free. Every clean, cool, generous thing this community makes and shares is a counter-argument. Every prosthetic, every classroom project, every here I printed, you replacement part for free, that's the reputation, built one print at a time. We don't win this by yelling, we win it by showing what this is actually for, and stay awake to it. Don't tune out just because it's uncomfortable or political. The people writing these laws are going to write them whether or not makers are paying attention, and it goes a lot better for us if we are. Because here's the thing, nobody on any side can change. This technology is not going back in the box. The printers are here. They're getting cheaper, faster, better. You've heard me say all of that on this channel with a big grin on my face. The only real question is whether the people who understand this tool best, you, me, us, are part of the conversation about it, or whether we let it get decided about us by people who've never watched a first layer go down. That dome panel's cooled off now. One more piece of my droid, made by a machine that, depending on which headline you read and which courtroom you're standing in, is either the future of making things or a threat to be regulated. I know which one it is on my bench. We got into 3D printing because you can make almost anything. That's the magic, and yeah, that's also the part that scares people. Both of those come from the exact same place, and I'd rather help the world understand it than let it get decided in the dark. Thanks for sticking with me through a heavy one. If it made you think, even if you disagree, do me a favor and leave a comment, because this is a conversation the whole community should be having out loud. I'm Oliver. Keep making good things.